Hello, and thank you for tuning in to our first Winners and Losers show. My name is Ricardo Caminelli. Alongside me is Nick Rosser.
How's it going?
Just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in today. And for our first show tonight, you're in for a real treat. We'll be bringing you insight and discussion on our local Major League Soccer side, the Colorado Rapids. The Rapids, after 5 games, are currently sitting in 4th in the MLS Western Conference, having won 3 games, tied 1, and lost 1. The excitement of being back at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, along with 2 back-to-back 3-goal wins, has been an absolute gift to the fans. Joining us today on our show is Nick Holmberg from MLSNow Podcast. Nick brings us coverage of the Colorado Rapids, and we are excited to have him with us tonight. Nick, how are you doing?
Hey, guys. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on the pod.
Awesome. So since you belong to the MLS Now podcast, we were wondering how you got involved in that podcast, how you got to be the Rapids correspondent, anything like that.
Yeah. So basically, I was just kind of on Twitter, just kind of randomly, spewing out my thoughts and ideas on how I felt about the Rapids and following them pretty religiously over the years, and was engaging with other fans, and I think they just kind of noticed that, and they were kind of looking to bring in, folks that would kind of cover a specific team. And so just one random day I was asked, yeah. And really what the MLS Now podcast did is they really started as 2 or 3 guys that talked about the league in general. And then it evolved. And I think I was the first one that they asked to be more of like a network of like dedicated fans to a specific team. So I just one random day on Twitter, I got asked. I was pretty excited, and I thought, well, heck, I mean, I'm already spending so much time, going to games, reading everything I can about it, watching everything, completely obsessing over it. So might as well put it to good use. It was a pretty easy decision when I was asked to hop on, and it's been awesome to do that and to get in. Kind of as this podcast was starting to grow.
Good. Well, I'm glad you've had a lot of excitement following the Colorado Rapids. I know it's been a pretty long journey, but I'd like to know, what are some challenges that come with covering the Colorado Rapids?
It's a good question. I mean, as far as the challenges, I would say that one of the biggest challenges is kind of the elephant in the room for the Rapids, which is trying to watch them on TV. Quite honestly, because, we've had this saga going on for 2.5 years where, we don't have many options. A lot of fans aren't able to watch the game. I mean, basically you've got, as I'm sure you guys know, you've got DirecTV and you've got AT&T now. And that starts at $90 a month, which is just absurdly expensive. And, like most fans, I'm pretty bitter about that. I'm trying to move forward, and I hope that it's resolved very soon. But, apart from that gripe, I mean, I would say that some of the biggest challenges are just trying to do it all. I mean, ideally, I would like to not have a day job and just do this, I would like to spend all of my time, just going to practice and, more than just getting to a game or, watching an occasional game. But, really being in and out, being at DSG Park all the time, watching practice, that sort of thing, being able to spend more time. It's not anything that the club has done wrong by any means. I just like to ideally. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like with COVID, like any team, completely understandable if they have to limit who's coming into practice. You can't really get close to players. That's all completely understandable. It's a challenge that, everyone, across the globe has really had to deal with. And, thankfully, it looks like there's light at the end of the tunnel and things are getting, slowly back to normal.
Well, it's definitely interesting because when we were trying to get our season tickets to the Rapids, they included that you have to still purchase the first 4 games. On top of not being able to watch it at home, you can buy a whole season's worth of games and still have to pay for the first 4. Like, nothing makes sense about the Rapids board at the moment.
Yeah, I completely understand that, and all I can do is speculate. But I think part of that is after the first 4 games, then I think they're opening up capacity to larger numbers, and so it was kind of like a something with COVID that most clubs probably had to deal with, and it depends on your state, so it varies a little bit, that kind of thing. But regardless, I still understand why it's it's frustrating. It's still frustrating. I get it.
Okay, we haven't asked this yet, but how long have you actually been supporting the Rapids, and what are some of your favorite moments so far?
Yeah, so I've been a hardcore follower of the Rapids for the past 5 years. So I moved here from Washington, D.C., and grew up in North Carolina. So I've kind of been a little bit all over the place. But when MLS started in '96, I was 11. So as a kid, there were no teams anywhere near North Carolina, but I always thought of the Colorado Rapids and DC United as the good guys. That's how I thought of it as a kid. And so I just kind of liked them growing up, and ended up moving to DC, and I went to games there. So I wasn't, haven't always been, I can't claim to be a Colorado native and have supported the team since I was born. But this is like a lot of people in America, right? It's it's the nature of things. It's very transient. We move a lot, but at any rate, I've really enjoyed supporting my local soccer team, and the Rapids. As far as the you asked like some of my favorite moments. I mean, I feel like I could go on and on and on that. I'm picking out some favorites, but I mean, last season going to Rio Tinto and winning 5-0 was just glorious. I mean, just walking on clouds for days after that, just invincible. But I wasn't there at the game. That was I don't know if any fans were allowed at that point because we were in the pandemic, but my favorite recent game that I was there in person for was June 2019, which we hosted LAFC. And this was kind of when Sam Vines was starting his coming out party, and all of a sudden everyone was starting to take notice. And this game, it was kind of like the old Rapids, like gritty, sitting back, soaking up the pressure, and they grind it out for a 1-0 win. But for me, it was all about Sam Vines, because I was very interested to see his rise, and he absolutely shut down Carlos Vela. And Carlos Vela was the MVP that season, and they even switched him over to the right wing. And Keegan Rosenberry had a lights out night too. So that was a really, really fun one, and one of my, maybe it's not the sexiest pick, but that was definitely one of my favorite moments. Really seeing what felt like, oh man, Sam Vines is here. The kid is good.
The kid is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can agree to that, honestly.
We could sit here all day and talk about Sam Vines. I mean, absolute baller. Nick, do you have a specific moment? Nick Rosser, do you have a specific moment that's your favorite growing up and following the Rapids?
It's so tough because there's like this specific moment, but it's not the Rapids that are involved. But I was a kid in a bar and just watching Connor Casey score 2 goals against Honduras to send us to the World Cup in 2010 is some of the amazing moments. Just makes me think of Connor Casey. If not, I just remember being with my dad in Old Chicago in 2010, watching us lift the cup off a torn knee. It's amazing, like how things happen. Yeah. But that's pretty much my best moments. And I have one more. Sorry. So my first ever game was at Invesco. It was called at the time the Broncos Stadium. And I was one of those kids that went on the field before the game started with the flag, had a good time with your club team. And as I'm going up to the stands, the game already started. The Rapids scored in the first minute, and it was 1-0 from there. I don't know why, but that one just sticks with me. That one's just a fun one, though. It was a good time. My first ever game. Missed the only goal, unfortunately.
What's an unfortunate events to happen there for you?
It's still a good time. Honestly, how about you? What's your first memory of the Rapids? What's your favorite?
Well, I've only been following the Rapids again, I guess, to the extent in depth this year. I've been a hardcore fan. I decided to support my local team as much as I can. Living here in Colorado for the past 12 years, it's finally a good time to get along the Colorado Rapids hype train. This year, they're doing pretty well. I'm not going to lie. I've got the opportunity to watch both the Austin FC home game and the Minnesota game. And I really had a good time at the Minnesota game. That definitely is up there for being one of the few games that I've got to experience. But for me, my first Rapids match, I got to see the season we got Tim Howard in goal. We were battling Dallas at the end of the season to get to the top of the Western Conference, and just seeing the hype and the excitement of the game, being victorious over them, just really brought the excitement. There was a full stadium at the time, and being my first Rapids game, I got these jitters, and just seeing an actual living legend, feet away from me was surreal. So I'm not gonna lie.
You're a goalie, because you're a goalie as well.
I did, yeah. I grew up playing goalkeeper in my life, so Tim Howard was definitely inspiration. Seeing his performance against Belgium in the World Cup was definitely really excitement. A lot of hype came after that, and so since then, I mean, moving on, Nick, since you've started supporting the Colorado Rapids, can you define any moments that you think have impacted the club for either the best or the worst? And that could be from signing a specific player, manager, appointal, or, a club ownership.
Yeah. So, I mean, so for the worst, I mean, yeah, you could definitely go the route of ownership, and that's, it's a sticky topic for, I mean, well, actually, I should say it's not really a sticky topic. I think most fans are not happy with the way that, Josh Kroenke is really the one who is really at the head of everything for the Rapids, part of the ownership for their group. But yeah. I mean, he's, there's bad owners everywhere. And I think, again, we could kind of go on and on about that sort of thing. And it is, hurting the team. And it kind of circles back to the whole, TV rights thing. All of a sudden, we don't have a sponsor, which, hey, if I'm buying a jersey, that's cool. But we want to grow the team, and who wants to be a sponsor if you're not on television? When meanwhile, the same provider, Kroenke Sports Entertainment, not provider, but they are getting their Avalanche and Nuggets games aired. It's ridiculous, and it's a sore subject. Obviously, makes me sad talking about it, but that's obviously been extremely detrimental. Not as detrimental would be, just to pile on another bad one, would be the appointment of Anthony Hudson, and I think he was a terrible coach. And there's nothing worse than his quote the day before he was fired, when he said something like, "I can't compete with a bottom group of players." I mean, it's just a horrible, horrible thing to say for any level of sports, regardless of how you really feel, to say that, which was obviously complete bullshit. Connor Casey. Yeah, Connor Casey turned around, and the same exact group of players did a lot better. So
yeah, it's
unfortunate,
but he still managed. Right. And he wasn't a manager for too long, or maybe that was maybe his only shot so far. Right.
So yeah, he was full of it, and unfortunately, I think he's coaching at the U.S. youth level, maybe under 23s or something. So I don't know. Good luck to those guys. But anyway, those would be some of the lows, I guess. But on the highs, I would say the big one for me is Porrig Smith. He has been a huge lift to the team, and having a general manager is new in soccer, but it's worked out really well for the Rapids. And I think if you go back to, so he wrote an op-ed in the Denver Post, I think August 2017, I want to say. And he had coined the phrase in that article, "the Rapids way." And that, I think, has really been great, because number one, they just were able to point out, okay, look, we've made some mistakes. Here's where they are. We know what to do to get better, and we're building for the future. And success didn't happen overnight, as I think that's reasonable to have their approach rather than a more reactionary sort of approach. So they had, I think, an organic way of slowly turning over the team and getting, Jack Price is the only guy left from then, slowly turn the team over. They went out and got the blockbuster trade for Kellen Acosta at the time. And they've really built up the youth system, and they've built for the future. And, it's fun to look at the team and say, well, this is great. We're winning games. We're doing good. And then knowing on top of that, we've got one of the youngest teams in the league, and we're building this youth academy that is doing, really, really well. So I really credit Borak Smith a lot. I think he's probably, in modern Rapids history is definitely the biggest plus, and his philosophy of the Rapids way, I'm totally bought in on, and I think it's really working.
Yeah, just general things to make the team better, not too profit motivated. Yeah,
exactly.
And I also think Robin Fraser is a good addition too. He's just, you can see it in the results from last year to this year. Like the Rapids ending the season last year was one of the most incredible runs in the MLS I've seen. And they've obviously, we had a slow start, but Sam Vines being out, that can make our team sometimes. Like,
yeah. I mean, you can't overstate that because, I mean, look what we do. We don't put in a left back. We change formations, and Kellen Acosta slides into left back for 2 games. We moved to a 3-5-2. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, your best ball winner in the midfield is gone. I mean, he led the league in tackles in the first 2 games playing left back. He had 8 tackles, which is amazing. He did really, really well playing in that position, but we missed him in the midfield, as you guys know. Like, he's really that bite to the midfield that we need. But
he seems to me the Tyler Adams answer for this national team right now.
Yeah, I mean, I am a Rapids fan, so I'm very biased, but I would say 100%. I think in the last couple of games where we saw him alongside Sebastian Lletget, they did really well together, and I think there was like a little, oh man, could that be a central midfield pairing for us? And with Tyler Adams missing for the national team, it is huge, and I don't think there's any question that Kellen Acosta is in the mix. As far as being called up to that position.
He should be in the mix at least.
Yeah, and I think part of that is, Kellen Acosta used to wear the number 10 jersey, and he, I think it was this year in the offseason, he switched to number 23, and he really last season ended up playing the number 8 role, and that's really his best position. And, when we brought in Eunice Nomley and Cole Bassett, they kind of took up that space, and luckily it's worked out well because, he doesn't have, a big ego where he can't handle it. He was able to switch positions, give up the number 10 jersey. He was okay with that. And that's exactly what you want from your teammate, and especially a guy that plays the 8. That's that box to box midfielder. But circling back to your point, Nick, I think Coach Fraser is great. And he absolutely goes right along with one of the best things that we've had, everybody thinks of a former player like him who was a defender as, Rapids are only going to play defensively. And, there are games where maybe you're playing a team that, you think is a lot better and is attacking really well. And this goes for all levels of soccer all around the world, maybe set up differently in that game, but the team really isn't playing defensively, not overly defensively. I think you look at the formation. I mean, it's either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. So, they're attacking, they're creating space, and it's exciting to watch. It's not just kind of the old Rapids, gritty, grind it out, work hard, and maybe you'll get a little lucky.
You don't know where the goals are coming from Rapids.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Well, I wanted to kind of go off of that. We were speaking a little bit, a little hype or maybe speculation around, are the Rapids going to be a defensive team? Well, right now in those 5 games that the Rapids have gone ahead and play, we've gone ahead and scored 8 goals and conceded 6, all goals conceded at home. Does that number of goals against, especially at home, concern the Rapids?
Well, if you're asking my opinion, no, when you're winning. Right. So, if you're winning, you don't worry about it. But yeah, I mean, on some level, there's a little worry, but also the, 10-minute collapse against Austin, which, so you guys were both there for the game? Yeah.
We were.
Yeah. And me as well. It was, and I was over in that corner too, near the away fans. They were rowdy and having fun. But yeah, have to tip your hat. I mean, the Los Verdes, I think it's the Los Verdes supporters group. They were singing the whole time, and they brought a great atmosphere. And so hats off to them. But yeah, it's not that you can't just say, oh, well, we collapsed for 10 minutes and let in 3 goals, so that skews the numbers. I don't mean it as simply as that, but you can't have mental collapses like that either, where I think a lot of that is mental. And we're susceptible to that at times where, if we don't start strong, sometimes it's really hard to claw our way back. Although on the flip side, we've had some comebacks lately and showed a little bit more grit than I think people give us credit for. But yeah, I mean, with the defensive performance, I mean, I was definitely weary of Lawless Abubakar being out and thinking it would be a lot worse than it is. And I'm thrilled that Austin Trusty has stepped up because he's done a very, very good job. And yeah, and Danny Wilson has been good too. But I feel like he also has stepped up his game this season. He's always been good on the ball, but I always thought he's a little overconfident, loses the ball once or twice a game where you could give up a goal. I feel like he's locked that down and really been consistent. Anybody's capable of an individual mistake, but as a team, the whole team unit has done really well. And I don't just mean, okay, they got the 4 guys at the back. Okay. And yes, Kellen Acosta and Jack Price do a good job in front of them. But also we've seen other guys playing well defensively. I mean, Diego Rubio has a pretty good work rate, but in particular, I would say Shinya Shiki has really done well. And if you look at like the heat map in most games, he is tracking back to help cover so Sam Vines can go forward too. And it looks to me like a little different strategy than we've had before. And I think that's why Shinya Shiki is playing more than John Lewis. John Lewis is still that excellent option to come in off the bench and, go for the win at the end. And he has so much energy and he does work defensively, but I think that, Shinya Shiki gets the nod because, okay, they're fairly equal
gets you goals
offensively,
too.
But
he gets you defense and gets you goals. He's like an ultimate package.
Yeah, he's so versatile. And so anyway, yeah, he really helps. Sport. Definitely. It makes a difference. And I think this is why the team is doing well. It's not just the center backs. It's not just how good Yarbrough has been, which Yarbrough has been awesome ever since he came in on loan. But now that he's signed, I mean, what a start to the season he's had. I mean, we just look more confident back there. He communicates well.
He's very commanding. I've noticed that from up close. His presence when he lifts those arms. Yeah. But it's pretty intimidating. You don't want to be in the 6 when that ball's in the air.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's the presence. He has it. Not every goalkeeper does, and he's definitely the other piece that I kind of missed on top of the defensive unit. But yeah, he's big time. It feels like it's been a real step up in quality level from where you were before.
Sweet. All right, so we have LAFC this weekend. And we've won the last previous games, and so we've scored 3 goals in the last 2 games. How are you feeling going into LA?
Well, this is about as good as you can feel going into LA. They are having the worst start to their season they've ever had. They aren't finding goals. Carlos Vela is hurt. I think that they've made a mistake with putting the Uruguayan Diego Rossi into the central part of the field because
he likes to come
what
in.
Makes them
he likes to create.
So they lose that space to get in behind, to create one-on-one, to get that advantage and really break down a team. So now it's just so predictable and then you have Corey Baird who's in the middle with them. So I think that fundamentally has changed their team. When a team's not scoring, I mean, it's kind of like us. It's kind of like Minnesota this year. Eventually, the dominoes are probably going to fall, and they'll start scoring, and 1 goal builds the confidence that you need. But we're still going to expect that they're going to dominate possession. They're extremely good in the midfields. I think Atuesta might be the Blessing is quick.
They got some pace.
I think Atuesta might be the best central midfielder, just hands down in the league. I mean, I think he's the main reason why they dominate the midfield. And it's hard to really score against them usually. So I think, for us going in, I think it is going to be a little bit of that, kind of like I alluded to before. All right, we're going to have maybe a little bit more defensive approach, and try to soak in the pressure and spring the counterattack when we can, which we've done really well.
Yeah.
With doing that, we've transitioned really well and scored off of transition before this season. So, I don't think it's just a wait and hope, but, starting off with a game plan of, soaking that pressure and take opportunities when you can. And then depending on how we line up, you could see a second half sub that, could change the game, like a John Lewis would be my guess.
I certainly couldn't agree more. The Rapids do like to explode on that counterattack. I've noticed that going out wide, finding Michael Barrios out there and letting him create and get that space. It's kind of dangerous. I saw Houston gave him too much space, which led to a beautiful cross and for Rubio to put in the back of the net.
All over them on the counter.
Honestly, we were really all over them in that first half. It looked like an absolute bombardment from our Colorado Rapids team. It was beautiful to watch that first half. And kind of actually going off of that, talking about halves, the Rapids now have won their last 2 games by scoring 3 goals in one half. Now, is that kind of magic going to continue against Los Angeles, or what do we need to do to become a full 90-minute team?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that I have the answer, but I think it would, the confidence boost is huge. And I think this is like mostly mental to be a full 90-minute team. It's not like people aren't in shape on the team. Everyone's, apart from, Lalas Abubakar, I think is recovered from injury, but isn't quite up to, game. Yeah. So that's a one-off, but, it's mental and it'll, to be able to really sprint and turn and make those dynamic movements. I mean, I think it's just a matter of time before he comes in and replaces Trusty, but it's hard to know without, being in practice or just knowing a little bit more information. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately to be a 90-minute team, it's a lot of comes down to like concentration, preparation, whether that's internally or from the coaching staff, and then taking all of that and executing on the field, which, the team just looks better and better in this respect and does look like that 90-minute team, but to continue mentally to have the confidence and the belief that you can do this. So this team is good enough to go out and score 3 goals, just like you said, against a team like LAFC. They're absolutely good enough to do that. So I think it's a lot of that internal belief to really know that, you're good. You can do this. You can go out and play aggressive and play with the best teams in the league.
Yeah. So this is not just So this is not just a Rapids in form. This could be like a potential long-term run of the season type thing. Like this form, this playing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a long season. There's going to be, it can be a lot of ups and downs within a season. It's a little bit different because, we're not playing barely any games on the East Coast this season. Nobody's traveling far. So I think it turns it into even more of a slugfest, and really having depth in your team is the other part that will really help, which I think we have really good depth. I think, across the defensive line, midfield, I think we have pretty good depth all the way around. And then we've got young guys who are out on loan at the Colorado Springs switchbacks who knows could get called up. So I think it's definitely possible to continue this type of form. Seattle looks like on another planet right now, and they're the type of team that is like, you can plug in anybody. It doesn't matter who gets hurt, throw a body in, and they seem to do well. And that's kind of a special team. You don't always see that. And they kind of have that something special right now. But I think we are definitely capable of continuing this type of form throughout the season.
I definitely agree with you. I don't think you could have worded it any better. To continue this run, good form, honestly, it is mental. It's that mental belief that you can do it. We saw the Rapids have that mentality that, hey, you're down 2 goals, you need to come back. Boom, they put in 3. And we also saw that mentality that, hey, you need to go out there and put in 3 before they start putting a couple like they did last week's inside of your net. And we saw that mentality of them going out of there and establishing the dominance of the game. Really excited. I'm really hopeful that they continue this really good form all the way and hopefully give us a long playoff run. This Los Angeles FC team is really going to be an interesting matchup this weekend. It's always really excited to see Colorado Rapids face off one of the bigger teams in the MLS, just to see how we stand alongside the heavyweights. And talking about, a lot of the younger guys getting opportunities with the Colorado Switchbacks. We've also seen a couple of the younger guys here alongside on the Rapids team. Some of the fan favorites like Sam Vines and Cole Bassett. Cole Bassett having scored 2 goals in his MLS campaign this year. Do you think he's now starter material alongside Rubio? I mean, we've seen him create, pass, dribble, get in the box. Do you think he's another good option to link with Rubio and both Barrios?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's a tough one. I think his quality is good enough to answer your question. He is good enough to be a starter. Coach Fraser does like situational rotation in the squad, and right now we just lost Eunice Nomley to injury, and Bassett is the best option to slide right in. So now when Nomley comes back, I think it's a little bit different. I mean, what I would say is normally if we're going to go a little bit more aggressive, you see Bassett in the number 10 role, and when we are not, you normally see Eunice Nomley dropping a little bit deeper. Seems to be the approach now. So I think it kind of depends on the team you're playing a little bit, and the kind of the situational part. And it's kind of tough what to predict. Coach Fraser is going to do with the rotation, but yeah, he is good enough. He's linking up well. He's got a ton of energy. I just wouldn't really ideally want him playing the number 8. I would want to have Price and Acosta behind him. I mean, you guys saw in that game against Austin, he got caught in our own third, deep in our own third, got caught in possession, and it led to kind of an easy goal.
Yeah.
So he has a great work rate. I mean, he just absolutely runs his socks off. I mean, that last game where he got the goal blocking the keeper's clearance by Maric, I mean, great determination and energy, but he's just really not a great defender. So if he's going to be forward in that number 10 position, do it. And he, quite frankly, he's producing better than Nomley if you're just looking at goals and assists. I think not that Nomley has done poorly, but if you're kind of comparing the two, which is really what it comes down to, in my opinion, it's kind of tough to pick, and that's why I think Coach Fraser's rotating a little bit and kind of playing the hot hand. Yeah, I think Bassett's good enough, but it just kind of depends on the situation a little bit as to if he's really going to start or not.
Fair enough.
This is kind of his opportunity, right? Because Namley's out injured.
Yeah, I mean, big opportunity. I mean, he started a lot of games in the past, and I think he'll continue to start or come in off the bench as the important sub, which, having Cole Bassett and John Lewis come off the bench seems to be working really well.
Yeah.
So,
like
that's,
that.
I mean, what can you say? I mean, they come in and they change games right now. But yeah, then on the flip side, you're like, well, these subs are scoring and producing and doing all this stuff. Why aren't they starting? I think it's tough. There's a lot of depth. I wish I had a better answer. But, it's exciting. He's exceptional. I think we'll be lucky to see him maybe past this summer. I mean, if we get a full season out of him right now, I think we're kind, and same really goes for Sam Vines. I think selfishly, I kind of hope I'm wrong, but I also, unselfishly for their development and their dreams. They've talked about this, especially Cole Bassett has talked about it, and they've both received offers to go to Europe, but they want to make those moves at the right time. But, anyway, I think that is, we are kind of seeing a special time where we might have half season or a full season, remaining with these guys. Cherishing every moment.
Honestly, let's enjoy these beautiful moments. Keep bagging in the goals and keep pushing for youth playing on our, starting 11. Can't complain with that. I like the new part that they're doing.
I like having the national team hype, honestly, too. Just having boys that are getting the call-ups, Acosta, Bassett, for small time, Vines. It's like the U.S. is really looking for a backup left back, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, really since the heyday of Beasley, DeMarcus Beasley, you know, we haven't really had a left back since then. I feel like it's been one of our weakest spots for years. And again, I'm very biased being a Rapids fan, but Sam Vines seems to me to be the clear, best young player to come in and take the job. I don't think Bello at Atlanta United is up to the same level. I think he's very good. I think they're both, the kind of, for me, if it was me making the decision, it'd be easy to call them both in. And then you have Anthony Robinson, who obviously is, starting at Fulham.
Yeah.
So hard to argue against him being called into the team. But yeah, I think that the thing that's a little bit different is, especially for Vines, not just the position has been weak historically, but he brings something different. He attacks better than most outside backs. And it's exciting for the US team. It's exciting for the Rapids. Just like you're saying, I just can't wait to see him play more for the national team. And, and you kind of alluded to this. I mean, the Rapids, we've now had, last camp, we had 4 Rapids players, which was the most we've ever had. You've got John Lewis, Kellen Acosta, Cole Bassett, and Sam Vines. I mean, all 4 guys are good enough. I don't know that we're going to see all 4 be called up to the A squad, if you will, for whatever those games are. But, we could easily see 2 or 3 of these guys getting called in regularly.
Certainly.
Sam Vines and Cole Bassett, they're shoe-ins, they're young. I think Kellen Acosta has a unique skill set at his position where we also kind of lack, that many players. And right now, like you guys said, Adams is out. So his chances go up there. Really exciting to, want to see all 4 of these guys, and who knows who's next, but definitely exciting to see all these young guys getting called up to the national team.
Yeah, we're really hoping to see a lot of these young guys, especially Nick knows I'm very biased towards my Kellen Acosta. I really want to see him get the opportunity. I really loved his performance against Jamaica a while back. And so that definitely, I think, put him on the platform. He's got to warm up a little bit to more of the U.S. fans. I know a lot of the Rapids fan like him. He's been very versatile for us, even playing in that left back position, as you mentioned earlier. So hopefully we can continue this good form and he can show some more individual talent to show a lot of the more U.S. fans that he can be an actual individual who can sub in for Tyler Adams or Weston McKennie in that midfield when needed.
Yeah. Because we saw on Twitter today that some U.S. fans were considering putting Dest at the 6 and sliding Richards out.
It's a very hot take.
It's just that's a hot take. That's a hot take, though. But there's just ideas around Acosta's just not on people's minds, and it's just frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, and it's kind of like being a Rapids fan where you're just, perennially underrated and underappreciated. Kellen Acosta, I don't understand it on some level. I think some people forget, I don't know if you guys know exactly how old he is, but some people think he had promise when he was, 21 and now he's this age. So now I'm writing him off, and it's just not true. And if you really watched again, last season, things changed. He's become a better box to box midfielder, and we need that in the national team. And he is one of the best, ball winners. He can play destroyer in there and do it pretty well. I mean, you don't want him as a lone number 6 really, but I don't know about putting Serginho Dest in the middle of the field.
No way. He's only 25. Yeah. He's only 25 as well.
He's 25.
If people can't realize that you can still get better at that age, and he's already playing at such a quality level already. I couldn't agree more. He can still get better by the age of 28, 29. That could be 4 solid years on the national team that people are overlooking because he's not. There might be Euro snobs.
Yeah, that can be a factor too. It can be the Euro versus MLS thing, or you're not on a good enough team, or you're getting written off for some silly reason. If you watch his on-field performances, again, I forget which game it was recently where he was playing with Sebastian Lletget, and it was the one where Serginho Dest scored that howler from way out. I think a friendly, but Yeah, he's got value, and he proves it on the field, and I think he's going to continue to prove it.
That was an absolute strike for some Junior Dest. It was, I believe, it was against the Jamaica game. I was showing some sympathy against the Jamaican, I believe, left back. I was saying it's kind of hard to defend against, a Barcelona right back who can just sprint at you at that pace. So great screamer. I vividly remember he hit that with the nice inside of the foot curler. But,
yes.
I don't want to get too carried away talking about the U.S. men's national team, because we could sit here and talk about all day how we want to structure that 11. But we have a pretty important match against LAFC this weekend. And it's just taking out Frazier out of the equation. Let's say by some miracle you become in charge of structuring the starting 11. How would you go ahead and structure the starting 11 for this match this weekend?
Oh man. Yeah, that's a yeah, how would I do it? Good question. I mean, I think most of the team really stays the same. I wouldn't really change much because it's been working well. I think on the back line, Vines, Trusty, Wilson, Rosenberry, I think they all start again. The only caveat to that is, where is Lalas Abubakar? If he is back to 100%, do you put him in? That's kind of the big question in the back line. Personally, at this point, from what I know, I'd probably just stick with Trusty right now and, not risk injury. Price and Acosta holding down the, kind of double pivot in midfield, wouldn't make any changes there. This part is easy because Nomley's injured, so Bassett gets the start. But that's always a tough one for me because I like both players. They bring something different, but, ride the hot hand right now. Even if Nomley's injured, let's go with that. So yeah, Bassett starting at the 10, and then obviously Mikey Barrios just on fire lately. So I keep him at his right wing where he's best. I mean, I like how they switch it around.
Yeah.
And just kind of go after the opponent's weakness. Rubio up top, and then on the left wing, I mean, it's also such a tough choice for me too, with Shinya Shiki versus John Lewis. I mean,
No.
Fraser, it's been working. Shinya Shiki starts, and then, Lewis plays the super sub role. I think that's probably how I would approach this one. And again, because Shinya Shiki will work back defensively really hard, probably start that way is how I would do it. And then you could bring on Lewis as that game changer.
Pretty interesting. Starting 11's not really changed, like you said at the beginning. Hopefully we get to see a lot of continuous great talent and creation making from Barrios out wide. I mean, what we saw against Houston was pure magic. It's kind of scary giving him space out wide, and then when he gets the ball inside, he still gets that space and he creates beauty. So hopefully
he's so technical.
Very
he's one of the most technical players we have on the team.
No question.
He's not afraid to take on players. I mean, when he was attacking that right-hand side, when we were watching the game, it looked like the first instinct he had was, can I take this 1v1 before I have to pass? And you kind of need that hunger sometimes.
Yeah.
Like wanting to, take the opportunity. You see the space 1v1. Can I play this ball into some of these tall guys, see what they can do? And so.
Yeah, exactly. He's got that direct play style that we really lacked. I mean, when he signed, it was like, okay, yes, we're getting, what we know is a proven really good talent in the MLS, but then it's also like play style. We get somebody who is just super direct, and I think that's really been a great, catalyst to our success recently. I mean, obviously, just watching him on the field, you can see how different we look and how much better. He sucks players in, and yeah, it's really fun to watch.
Okay, so as we found out it was last month, that the Denver is hosting the CONCACAF Nations League from June 3rd to June 6th. The United States team is yet to announce any official roster for the Nations League. Do you see any Rapids making that possible A squad coming to Denver?
Yeah, so I would say the most likely ones are Sam Vines and Kellen Acosta. But my follow-up question, which you guys probably have maybe the same question, like, okay, so all right, it's another national team game. Which players are going to be? Is this going to be a domestic or a Euro-based squad that we call up. I never seem to know which is which and what to expect. But I would say that if you just look at the positions, I think Sam Vines and Kellen Acosta are the most likely. And, it's kind of tough without knowing, who else is going to be in the player pool to, who's expected. Like we've said on here, Tyler Adams being out, I think that makes Kellen Acosta,
at least on the 23.
Yeah, I think he gets in. I think Sam Vines is in. And then it's really just a question mark on. I don't think Cole Bassett gets in, even though he's in great form. I don't think they're gonna call him in central midfield. And then John Lewis would be the other one, right? So, I'm not really sure exactly who his best competition is going to be on the wing, and he's really best on the left wing. But John Lewis would be the third one. Maybe he's kind of on the fence, and he could get in. I mean, I think it's totally possible we could get 3 guys in, but heck, I could be wrong and we only get 1. But I have faith that we're going to get at least one Rapids fan in on the squad.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that at least we get one Rapids player. It'll really, get the support going for us fans. We plan on being there at the Nation League's final on June 6th. I'm hoping it's an exciting clash between both the United States and Mexico. At least that's what we're hoping for. This is an absolute rivalry in our home state, and it would be absolutely nuts just to witness this great, hopefully 2 strong 11s just going absolute, cleat to cleat, shin to shin, ham, just trying to bag goals here in Denver. I don't know why Denver. Do you have any takes looking forward to the game? Anything specific? Anything that'll get you excited? Is this a positive to have in Denver? Does this help out the Rapids at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good for soccer in general for the state of Colorado. I think it's definitely good for the Rapids. And of course, it would help if we have Rapids players, lacing up their boots for the game. Because then it really puts that into people's minds, pretty easily. But I mean, not that the U.S. has been a powerhouse lately by any stretch, but I don't think Mexico has been excellent lately either. Recent history, we've started to take an edge actually in winning games against them. So, it's not just all written off, that Mexico is always better than us. And I think especially with this young crop of players where it's not just the gritty, hold on for dear life and see if we can get one lucky bounce in. We've got the skilled players. We've got, speed on the edges. There's a different dynamic to the team now, and Berhalter's playing these younger guys, and thank God. It's just so good to see the young guys out there. And so, yes, like you, I hope it is Mexico in the final. I hope we slap them around and, just absolutely destroy them 3 or 4-0.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. I don't even often want a blowout. I like close games, but it's your rival. It's Mexico. I hope, I really hope that they turn it on. And I think part of the keys for this is for any national team games is there some cohesiveness, some chemistry with the guys they're playing. It's so hard if you're moving guys around a lot. Are the center backs going to have a good partnership? Will there be good connections in midfield? I mean, I can't wait to see what the roster looks like, but and for Mexico too. I don't know, how you guys feel about it, but I'm just, when it comes to the U.S. team, I'm just kind of blindly optimistic, and maybe that's a problem as a sports fan being that way. But it's a really promising time to be a U.S. national soccer fan. I mean, it's just growing so much, and I think we have a lot to prove. It's not going to be easy, but I'm ready for it, and I hope we are celebrating in Denver soon together.
Hopefully, you can just see it. It's just all these boys need on the national team is just minutes and chemistry. That's just what they need together. I think we've already surpassed Mexico's youth talent. Their best youth player is 25 on Napoli, so it's tough.
Yeah. For once, it does seem. Yeah, I mean, we
are
are perhaps ahead on the youth level. Yeah.
The Chucky Lozano agenda continues from Nick. It's
I love that. I
I
absolutely love that.
Yeah, I don't even often want a blowout. I like close games, but it's your rival. It's Mexico. I hope, I really hope that they turn it on. And I think part of the keys for this is for any national team games is there some cohesiveness, some chemistry with the guys they're playing. It's so hard if you're moving guys around a lot. Are the center backs going to have a good partnership? Will there be good connections in midfield? I mean, I can't wait to see what the roster looks like, but and for Mexico too. I don't know, how you guys feel about it, but I mean, I'm just, when it comes to the U.S. team, I'm just kind of blindly optimistic, and maybe that's a problem as a sports fan being that way. But it's a really promising time to be a U.S. national soccer fan. I mean, it's just growing so much, and I think we have a lot to prove. It's not going to be easy, but I'm ready for it, and I hope we are celebrating in Denver soon together.
Hopefully you can just see it. It's just all these boys need on the national team is just minutes and chemistry. That's just what they need together. I think we've already surpassed Mexico's youth talent. Their best youth player is 25 on Napoli, so it's tough.
Yeah. For once, it does seem. Yeah, I mean, we
are
are perhaps ahead on the youth level. Yeah.
The Chucky Lozano agenda continues from Nick. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the Colorado Rapids this weekend head on over to Los Angeles to face off against LAFC. It's going to be a really exciting match. We hope to continue a great form. Nick, it's been really exciting, and we are really thankful for you to join us on our podcast and our show today. If you guys were looking to follow Nick on Twitter, I just want to go ahead and put down his Twitter here for you guys. It is at BurgundyBoys96. Like I said, again, his Twitter is BurgundyBoys96, where he brings you media coverage on the Colorado Rapids for the MLS Now podcast. The MLS Now podcast, you can follow them on Twitter. We'll go ahead and put all those ads and social media links over at the end of the video. But that ad for the MLS Now podcast is at MLS Now podcast. I know I've said that a couple of times, but MLS is all caps, at MLS Now podcast. Nick, thank you so much for coming on our show today. It's been a great honor. We really enjoyed discussing with you the Colorado Rapids, getting some insight on the U.S. men's national team, and hopefully there's a good road for us here and we get to see some playoffs, maybe bringing the cup back here to Colorado.